Robert,
Hello, how's everybody?
this is good. This is good. We're doing well. We're doing well. Everybody, this is Robert Lashley. This is he's our guest on. This is probably our second recording
I would
for
count it. Yeah,
yeah
second.
Sis Bros podcast. Everybody, that's what this is. And
An exciting one at that.
we got
Both of
local
us.
legend Robert Lashley, a man of many many brilliant words.
Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. You look good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see you,
Thank you.
Okay,
Tommy. This is Tommy.
Yeah. So, I guess we've been looking for guest things that can, stimulate people's minds, keep people interested, and Robert, or Bob, as we call him. We got two
What?
Bobs or two Roberts.
You know what? I always want to call you Bobby, man. I don't know. Is that weird?
You can call me Bobby.
I love that dude because I always want to, and you're my. You know what I mean?
We're friends. You can call me Bobby.
I love that.
I
All
will
right.
say I found this out
That-
today when I was looking on YouTube because I wanted to see if there was any spoken word that I could listen to while I was working. And there is another Bobby Lashley. He's a UFC fighter.
No
So,
shit.
yeah.
Born 2 years before me on the same day.
No
Shit.
fucking way. Wow, dude.
So as a detractor, I guess we'll let people know this is not the UFC fighter.
Or is it?
He could whoop my ass.
He could whip all of our asses at the same time. I bet.
Yeah, I would hope so with all that training. But
Wow.
in the verbal arena, which. Anyway, so Bob was telling me, my podcast partner, who's sitting right here looking at me, told me about Mr. Lashley the other night. I was very excited. And what was cool today is the first thing he did last night when we were kind of going over some notes and stuff and talking about some other things for future podcasts. And he directed me to one of your poems. And forgive me, your poems... it's not the Raven or whatever. They're longer in name and they're amazing. Just the names of the poems themselves can get you captivated. But I can't remember the one.
I can remember the one that you,
Yeah.
first, the name of the poem that.
Yeah,
That really
But
got you.
the great thing was, I think it was at the Wine and something 10-year anniversary, and the first thing I listened to was that one. Out of all of the ones, out of the hundreds of poems, it was, if that deacon talks shit about your tats again, I'll cut him and write my prison memoirs. Or two hoodlums hiding in the shed with Luther. And that's the one that got me last night, and I knew we
I would love
had a
to
special
read
day.
it.
I would love that.
Yeah, let me read it for you. Your columns and crosses, your errant birds, your neon patches in hidden words, I know no gods but them now. Let the sun and moon have their contradiction of followers. Let the matchmen that strain and strain to sketch you costume image for facts. Life, in deeds, in words, in acts, is the syllogism of the sun on your chest. The pinpoint and crescent beyond comings of judgment to which I will show all my rainbow signs. A rhapsody lighthouse from old structured rules and bow ties who scour the streets. Love, dear love, I will never rewrite you, never capture you in scenes, moments, or landscapes. Never do anything but seek what you put first in morning nocturne hours. Never put codes on the markers in places you show me. Still, unfiltered, beautiful and transitory, elusive in your higher hidden laws on green belly buttons and chains. Elusive are we in the heretics hour. I will never put you asunder. That's a poem.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, I'd be happy if we.
Syllogism.
The she the lady that had the tattoo on her chest. Her name was Lisette. And the idea of life, you know, it was comparing the sun on her chest to the sun up in the sky.
Like the light, like the bright, like the brilliance, the beauty in her, in her.
Yeah. A lot of I'm just gonna keep it real.
Yeah, man.
A lot of the love poems in there, almost all of them, are dedicated to one person. A lady named Lisette Robinson, who a friend of mine who passed away in April 2014, and we came up through some really fucked up circumstances.
Oh, you were telling me about her the
Yeah.
other day. That girl you grew up with.
Like she, like we met at a brothel in Tacoma, and we weren't customers. Like our fathers went to the same brothel, and we were kids just sitting on the we were just kids sitting on the bottom side room. And I was just, I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't hard. I'm not hard. I'm a dork, and I was so scared. I was the most scared kid in Hilltop, and I was just so like frightened of everything. And she kind of took care of me.
Kind of watched out for you.
And like we had an off and on thing from 13 to 16.
Mm-hmm.
And we had an off and on thing from 30 till I was 36. Alcohol and drugs were involved, and it was our way of dealing with some of the things, some of the just really fucked up shit that was put on us, and some of the fucked up shit that we had to deal with.
Is that part of? So I was reading in an interview that you did that you think a lot of like Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys had similar childhoods, man. You know what I mean? Like reading about his childhood, and he grew up in brothels and shit like that too. And you know, I see some parallels
on
there.
my father's side. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I had the one thing that I had that Pryor didn't have was that like my grandmother and like my uncles, they weren't in that game, and my uncles especially
my
Uncle Mo, my Uncle Herman, my Uncle Milton, and my grandfather, they were kind of a shield for me for a long time, from when my dad would want to go and do dark shit. That ended when I was 14. Well, I was thinking about Uncle Herman last night. I started being their drink and their drink and sandwich man when I was 9 years old.
What do you like just running errands for him and
yeah,
shit?
just like when I was 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother, told my mom that she wanted to babysit while she would work, so she could get a better chance to get out the hood. And my so I was always around, and I I was always be around on weekdays, like on weekends when my uncles would come. And what happened one night was like my dad was trying to quit crack, and he, I was a little bit too anxious to go to the BNI because I wanted to see the gorilla. Being 9 years old, you just kind of you do that.
Yeah.
And
the BNI, sorry.
The BNI is a store in Tacoma.
Okay.
It's a kind of a general store and a kind of also kind of a like a toy store shit like and
sorry Tom just swallowed something.
You're all right, champ. You're all right. Champ.
All right, I'm back. Sorry to interrupt.
And my dad George Foreman me upside my left eye, and I mean hit me so hard I bounced off the wall.
Damn, dude.
And
that'll leave a mark.
I had a shiner, and my dad was kind of the self-pitying cat. He would be a little bit too open with his emotions. He'd hit you and cry about it more.
Right, try to get pity for what the shitty thing that he just did.
Yeah.
Instead of showing apologetic behavior towards you, or not doing it at all.
Or was it?
Yeah, I see what you mean, though. I know what you mean.
He was trying to get pity, or was he?
He was trying to. He was doing something fucked up, and then he was trying to manipulate the situation to make it sorry for him.
Because he had a bad hand in the 1940s.
Right.
Oh
okay.
Yeah.
So he told me to kind of go with the story. He was going to go out and clear his head, and he was going to drop me up at my uncle's for the card game night. So we go down to my grandmother's house. We go down to the basement, and my Uncle Milton and my Uncle Herman, they see my shiner, and my dad tells my grandma, he tells the card game, oh, he was playing football and he got a football injury. So my uncle, Herman, said, okay, you going out tonight? And my dad said, yeah. Let me give you some money upstairs. So they take him upstairs. Boom! Ouch!
Delivered it to him, huh?
And and I heard, sorry about your football injury, Robert. And I knew from then on that my uncles and my aunts, they gave a shit about me.
Yeah.
So, like, my center is in my core is my grandmama's basement, where my grandmama at the head, my Uncle Mo, my grandpa, my Uncle Milton, my Uncle Herman, my Aunt Virginia, my Aunt Yalela, and me at the end, close to the bar, making drinks and making hoagies for each and every one of them, almost every Friday until about 1992.
Wow.
And
they were writers too, weren't they?
My Uncle Mo was a writer, but they were all invested in the arts community. Mm-hmm. My grandmama, she ran a pool hall for 28 years, and when she worked at the laundry for the military, so she had those two jobs. She stacked her money up. She had a house where the top part of it was normal, but her basement was the greatest basement I'd ever seen. Had a stacked bar, had card table, one bed, television, 2,300 records.
Wow.
Damn.
It had a record player. It had the TV with the TV on top. And in the other room they had my Uncle Mo's bedroom, and they had the washroom. It was for in so many ways, that's home. That was home for me.
Yeah.
Your safe space, your
fortress
of solitude,
and it was home for me. It was home for my mama. It was home, and like, outside of my mama's kitchen, those were the safe spaces for me.
Nice, man.
It's and the strong family unit too. So you get one thing from over here on this side, but then go full circle to this amazing strong family unit, and you'd seen both sides, from what it was like to feel not loved to, and then to have so much and so many people caring about you.
I didn't realize how much what my dad did to me affected everybody. Because what happened was in September of 1992. Like, my Uncle Mo's doing the wash, and he sees my drawers, and he wants to know why there's so much blood in them.
In your drawers?
Yeah. And we talk, and it was the first time that an adult said it publicly. I didn't have to say it. And he said, "It's Bob, isn't it?" And I nodded. And the card game, the card game started and stopped abruptly. They had the discussion, and they all left one by one, and my Uncle Herman left the pistol on the bar counter, and he left 3 bullets. And I didn't get it until later that these were men of a certain age and of a certain amount of nobility, that, and they were of their time with some issues. They weren't necessarily woke, but they worked for my grandmama. So
they were from a different time. Yeah.
They were a different time, but they worked for my grandmama, so they had a certain amount of respect, and they never liked my father. They tolerated him because of some of the circumstances of his early life, and that she was.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And that for a while, my dad was making big money because he was brilliant. He was as brilliant at being a he was as brilliant at being a landscaper as I am as a writer. I mean,
That's saying a lot.
Because he had, the groundskeeping at Fort Lewis, the groundskeeping at McCord, the groundskeeping at 3 to 4 golf courses. That was him.
I like that you recognize that you're brilliant as a writer. I like that you just know that. You know what I mean?
I know that, but I know that I'm gonna get better.
Well, yeah. I mean, I really like the way you put it. There was no hesitation, but it wasn't spoken loudly. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, wait.
Yo, so
okay,
sorry,
wait.
Sorry, I apologize. Am I talking too much?
No. We're here to talk, dude. We got a lot of time to kill.
That's great.
So we want to get words out, but I just want to throw in a couple of quick fun things here, Robert Lashley.
Yes.
I want to get to know you really quick here. Okay.
No problem.
All right. Boat or airplane?
Airplane.
All right. Snakes or spiders?
Kind of like snakes. They're smooth.
Oh, yeah, they are. They are 100%.
And if your house is infested with them, you know about it.
You really do.
If there's one within like a,
you don't swallow 3 of them a year in your sleep.
That's, I mean,
well, I guess that depends on some people. Some people don't think. So, okay, those 2 things. So, airplane, not a water guy. Don't like the water. Don't like boats.
I've never been on a cruise.
Like offshore, like.
In my Bellingham boat, memories.
Donkey.
Kind of.
Donkey and Gunther.
Yeah, it. Yeah. I like my Bellingham boat memories are kind of. There was a poet who would like to who back in the poetry night days, who would try and get young girls on the boat. So it was 3 or 4 of us, because we couldn't have the sense to, because the group didn't have the sense to tell him to fuck off.
He was trying to throw poetry mac.
So there was always 3 to 4 of us who would kind of, block.
Yeah.
And so like my boat memories in this town.
Well,
good job, Bob. No, that's I like what you're doing there. Do you got any more? The what would you call those? Let's see. I know this one's cliche, and we can go into different MCs, but I'll start this right off the bat. Pac or Biggie?
Biggie. I think that if Tupac had lived, I don't think he would have aged well.
I absolutely agree. When I was a kid, I was from the West Coast. I was all Pac, Substance, the aesthetics. Who did I want to emulate? Pac had it all. He was in movies. He was doing this. And then as I got older and I started listening and I got into more like B-side stuff and I was listening at who could rule. When it's just 2 dudes spitting, I don't even think there's a comparison. I think it's an unfair one. In my opinion, I don't think Pac is even in top 20. I think Biggie is for sure.
I think that, Biggie came from that tradition of Rakim, where he would use the tradition of Rakim, where MCs used accents and phrasings and kind of the way that foreign poets would use it, but they would just speak it out, and like you thinking of Rakim, thinking of KRS-One, thinking of later poets like Mos Def,
Eric Sermon, Talib Kweli,
and
Nas,
and like I'm old, but I want kids off my lawn, but I tend to my lawn. You gotta give Kendrick justice.
It's cliche. Everyone has to rap kind of their generation, but it pisses me off when I see so many people like rap today. I was like, okay, first of all, a lot of the rap we were listening to, KRS-One wasn't on Power 92.3 jams, and all the people we think we like. Guess who was? Rex and Effects.
I like Twista. What do you think about Twista?
Twista wasn't on the radio, but and everyone says
Kanye helped him. Kanye helped him on the radio, get him on the radio. But Twista's like mixtapes. Legend.
Yeah.
Like Twist, Kanye, gave him that annuity song, "Gonna Make You Celebrity Overnight."
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just pay for your house. I mean, that's good. That's when That's when we like Kanye. God, that seems like a long time ago.
Hey, speaking of all this shit, Mr. DJ Brooke Shields, I believe.
Yep, that was my nickname because I had big ass eyelashes.
Talk to me about that.
I will talk to you. I'll be glad to.
Yeah.
I DJ'd records because it was a creative way to not get shot. And around 1990, it was it was at a time where Tacoma was so obsessed, not with hip hop, not with all kinds of hip hop, but with one group, NWA.
Mm-hmm.
And
like mid late 80s,
like late 80s NWA,
yeah,
like
right before Ghetto Boys started really hitting it.
And the Ghetto Boys are a more complicated conversation.
Yeah, we'll save it for. We're going to talk about Gigi Allen tonight at some point too.
We will.
That's what we were talking earlier.
There's a complicated conversation.
Yeah,
NWA, like I remember on the 27 bus, taking in the little tape of NWA and listening and kind of, giving up on my first listen around She Swallowed It.
Mm-hmm.
Because the song She Swallowed It, she's talking about, like, raping an 11-year-old girl and having her die.
Yeah.
And
it's not the only song where they take it to that level.
They take it to that level. And I'm like, I was 11, and the only people in the world, and I was a scared little nerd, and the only people in the world that had my back, the only people in the world like my age that were giving me love, I mean, were 12, 13, 14-year-old black girls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, outside of the obvious of the lyric, it was like it like turned me off, and it turned me off, and it was like, and you couldn't say that in DJ circles, and I tried to do little competitions, but I was a bitch. I was that I got called a bitch more than I called my own name,
because you weren't like with everybody else going, yeah, NWA is rad. You were like, actually kind of fuck those guys, huh?
And later when you find out that that like y'all, that generation, y'all remember CB4, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
It was common knowledge that so much of NWA wasn't about that life.
Right.
But you couldn't say that in Tacoma. So I kind of felt like hip-hop was taken away from me. I don't hate hip-hop. I felt that it was taken away from me. So like most of the records that I played were like, if you want to play for a black audience in the 90s, you played Luther, you played Anita Baker, you
Zap Roger, stuff like
Roger
that.
and Zap. You played Alexander O'Neal,
Parliament.
And you played Parliament, and you also, like, my group was Tribe. I still, I was little, I still miss Fife.
Oh, that was one of the best days for me recently, where I tuned in. I went and found that wasn't a sporting event. Where I tuned in was when Chappelle came out and he hosted Saturday Night Live strictly because Tribe was going to be on, and what they did, what they did for him and the in memoriam, the fact that the album, people were giving them shit with this new album, Tribe Called Quest, because they're like, oh, they're trying to capitalize now that Fife's gone. Little did they know that the rest of the group was taking it back just as much as everyone else, and that Fife he was like, hey, let's put one last, not one last record, he said let's put another record to go, and they didn't know till the very end that he was sick this whole time. It's a beautiful record, this most recent one, but sorry, I went off on a tangent right there.
It's real.
Just like you, two things. NWA, there was something weird about it because when you have to sneak around like you're looking at porno mags with your buddies, there was something weird about it. But I always like Compton's Most Wanted better. I found more sincerity with Compton's Most Wanted.
But you know, the thing with hip hop too, though, is that it seems to parallel. I talk real simple, Robert. Let me know if anything I say pisses you off. It seems like hip hop paralleled black culture, like punk rock paralleled white culture, in that the fucking gangster rap paralleled the punk rock metal crossover time, when everybody was really aggressive and fighting and getting fucking bloody and shit was dangerous and shit was fucking sketchy, like from the mid 80s to the fucking mid 90s.
But that's why NWA was bogus, because a lot of that wasn't true.
Like
with NWA though.
Well, yeah. I guess I'm talking not just about that. I was starting to kind of get towards the Ghetto Boy side of the conversation, but
I think that when you like talking about the Ghetto Boy side of the conversation, I think like that's where it's valid. That that you have the kind of the side of respectability politics and the side of R&B that was just so awful. I remember, growing, listening to Lionel Richie and not liking it when I turned 9. I thought it was corny when I was 9.
Yeah, dude. I didn't like the way he looked at me on that album cover. I was like, quit leering at me, bro. You know?
And like you had to, given what was happening with Reaganomics, but given what was happening within the cities, you have these voices that, who were spitting real anger, and sometimes, to keep it real, sometimes in regards to the Ghetto Boys, the anger was so badly focused, but sometimes that anger, made some of the greatest songs. Like Mind Playing Tricks on Me, 6 Feet Deep.
So, yeah.
And it's just
damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
I
read Scarface's book.
I need to read it.
I'll let you borrow it. It's right over here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. They had a lot of ups and downs and some sketchy shit. They, as far as what he wrote about, and it's interesting.
This is one thing that Bob and I have talked about too, because you mentioned Tribe, so I assume De La's probably there with you, which coincidentally they, I can't remember. I know it was like, it doesn't matter. A couple of them had gone to the same school together, but you had that different type of hip hop coming out at the same time. There was nothing. It was still getting the respect that like harder hip hop was getting. It was speaking of unity, but coming from places. It was almost like you were allowed to speak of that stuff. If you saw the bullshit, then you're allowed to say like, "Hey, we need to love each other." But you had to see the bullshit to be able to tell other people. But you had that.
I agree with you, and I'll tell you a story with like when I knew that hip hop would never be mine again. It was the Monday after Biggie was shot. I was a senior, and my mom had moved from the projects into the suburbs, and I was just this kind of volcano of unchecked rage.
So that puts you at like 39, right? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm 39. Yeah, I'm 39 now. And I remember, that cloudy March day and afternoon, listening to these kids in the suburbs just talking about, oh wow, did you hear Biggie got shot? Oh wow, who's next? Nas?
Yep.
And I just like, and I went home, like I took like the rest of the classes off, and like I skipped school because I went home and cried because, it made me understand that like so much of hip hop, like the untold story of hip hop, is the story of how the entertainment industrial complex, mass marketed so much of this awful shit to suburban teenagers.
To get them to the point where they get excited about somebody getting shot.
Yeah.
Especially somebody like...
The day Pac died, it's weird that you brought that up, because the day that Pac died, I remembered so many pretty-ass white girls down on Mill Avenue in Tempe, Arizona. I'm a year older than you, but I remember these days specifically. That's how I Rain-Manned how old you were just from you saying where you were that day, and it was your senior year. And girls just like, oh my God, he was so fucking gorgeous. He was so amazing. I was like, bitch, you never talked about Pac before. But from a marketing perspective, good for them. They sold a lot of records because of it, but they did it on the backs of people getting shot and real life shit.
And those same kinds of people 10 years later were, running around wearing NWA shirts. Talking
Absolutely,
about, what I mean?
Remember
when the NWA revival and these people that talk a lot about a lot of things. I'm having a hard time being specific because I'm not trying to immediately piss everybody off. But
take your time,
I thought it was a really hypocritical situation that I saw with like these so-called progressive people, and then glorifying this fucking shit that NWA pretended to be a part of. You know what I mean? It was like, what the fuck, man?
That leads beautifully to another one of my poems that you might have over there.
Is it the one? Is it the one where? Excuse me for 1 second. Is this the one with one of my favorite lines that I've ever read?
Crack.
Which is, the width of its autumns makes wider avenues blank, and the night is a concrete apparition.
Yep.
Yeah, read
that.
Please
shit. Read it. I would love to read it.
Dude, here.
Yeah. This is.
I will give a little bit of. I'll give a context after.
I was really hoping this was going to happen tonight.
This poem is called "Abandoned Hip Hop Activist Youth Center, Hilltop, February," a parody of "Short Speech to My Friends" by Amiri Baraka. The street lamps are circuited northern stars. They flicker over first sheens of hanging paint flecks and empty building particles. They twitch over left gear, boxes and renovations on top of each other. Crack, crack. Crack, crack. They spotlight contracts and tatters. They highlight black words of old student letters but cannot make sentences cohere. They illuminate mixtapes, shared beats and creations, visible only by tape signatures. Crack, crack. Crack, crack. Consoles and termites are bodied and silhouetted on top of themselves as each other. Smoke layers metastasize as a corner store crew conjures the imagism of firecrackers. Crack, crack. Crack, crack. The death of woke art is never tender. The string of people's plucked clean fingers never touch. The width of autumn makes wider avenues blank, and the night is a concrete apparition. New highways in the distance disappear in layered fogs. New buildings below are a mosaic of dirt light, and noises exaggerate in lack of mass. Windows assume the perversity of distance, and all who are left here are moving. Crack, crack. Crack, crack.
All right. Now, let me say this real quick. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm not going to take the full year that it would for me to respond to that poem and all the words I like to say about it. And that's what I have to say about it.
I appreciate that. I thank you for your kind words. I'll tell you about the poem. So there was a building 3 blocks from my granddaddy's house, which used to be my grandmama's house. That a bunch of suburban kids had rented, and it was gonna be the next great gangster rap studio. It used to be a place where like before that, it was a place where like the Sons of Norway would feed you like brown paper bag lunches if you're poor.
Yeah.
But the suburban but
like a Grange Hall.
Yeah. But that first wave of gentrification came out. And they kind of they were gonna make it, a real hard OG gangster. They're just G Willikers, and
wow,
and
that's weird.
They had put money into it, and they had made it a studio.
This was on Hilltop Tacoma. Yeah. In what year?
This was in 2012, 2013 time, and a couple of the rappers had kind of made tough golf course tough guy threats about me.
About you?
Yeah. And on record. And on a record.
Yeah. We're gonna play that shit next time. I want to try.
Did they rap the threats or did they say them normally?
They had just did some golf course tough guy threats. They had
interesting.
Yeah, very very charming.
Were they like, don't read no poetry around here, or some shit like that, or what?
They had seen me at the barbershop, and this was like when the barbershop had changed.
Yeah.
I was used to kind of like old cat barbershop and so I was at the barbershop and says, you better not come from around here. We're down with the Crips and sure, buddy. And so
I keep seeing you do this everywhere you point.
Yeah, just it's like, gee Willikers, you look like you like every time you try to do gang signs, you look like you're having a crack spasm.
Right. Right.
And
swimming in a fucking flannel.
So a couple of years later, I go on a national tour and I sell few thousand copies and
congratulations, by the way.
A lot of glory.
We'll get to that too. I want to talk a lot about your success as a writer.
I go back to the block and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's boarded up.
Mm-hmm. Money moved in.
Not money moved in. What happened was that some of the kids who were part of a new generation that was interested in something, modern and avant-garde and different, kind of came in, and they, and a lot of those kids
were artists buying up cheap property like in Detroit.
They were kids from the neighborhood.
Oh,
and they were kids that were raised on my books. It's like, oh my God. And they kind of put a public pressure to turn those kids conservative and get them out of the neighborhood. And I didn't know that before I wrote that poem. I just saw the poem. Like, I just saw how it was boarded up, and it was like, given that, some of my best poems have came from misdemeanors. I
can relate.
I broke in a window and checked it out, and so I wrote that poem, and I found out later on that there was a artistic group called Colored 2017 where you have these 20 to 25 kids from Tacoma, from Lakewood, from Kent, from Auburn, who are just kind of interested in this like modernist Afro-American avant-garde, just kind of, and they got big like one of the kids won a major award and got featured in Art Forum. Like wow. the opening exhibition trended on Twitter, and the writers that they and like several of them, they did ekphrastics. They did tributes to me, and they credited. They gave me an extensive amount of credit. And
that's awesome. You deserve it.
I appreciate that.
Hey, so yeah. So one of the reasons why I say you deserve it is because I think you work really hard doing what you're doing, and like the poem that you just read us.
Yeah.
So I read some again an interview of yours that I was reading when I was kind of doing my homework for this. You were saying something along the lines of write 50 words, keep 10.
Yeah.
And so like the last poem that you just read us, like how long did that poem take you to write? How long did you work on? How from the time that you wrote it and then after you wrote it, which took 10 minutes, how long did you work on it?
6 months.
Nice.
That one.
Nice. And that's why I say you deserve the success that you have because of the hard work that you put into something like that poem.
Thank you.
Sorry, Tom.
No. Hey, we're chatting like we're at a
so fuck off.
No. So hey, real quick, you guys know if you let me go, then we'll be talking about.
Oh, I know.
Some random.
I want to bring up space-time continuum at some point in this conversation. I'm gonna turn Tommy loose on it. We're gonna go get a pizza.
Pretty much.
He'll be good.
If I was blind, I wouldn't even know. I would just sit here for 6 days on a rant. So
speaking of, what science blows your mind, Robert? What science fucks you up? Like makes you like when your eyes cross so fast from something that fucks your brain up that you see the white flash?
I have a deficiency.
In what?
And my deficiency is science. I need to learn more. I need to know more.
Is there any part of it that you're curious about?
So much. To be honest, astrophysics kind of.
Well, we happen to have an astrophysics book right here. I don't know if this is a plug or not. It's underneath that notebook right there, Tommy. Neil deGrasse Tyson's newest book, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. Yeah, that's.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Mister.
This is a kitab. That's book in Arabic there.
Neil deGrasse, I think, right? It's not. Is it deGrasse?
So
or DeGrasse?
what I've taken from this book is that astrophysics is the study of very, very small things, like the smallest things, like
word.
Let's see if I can get the word right. Infinitesimally small.
You got it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and there's some books. There's some words in here that I underlined that I wanted to talk to you about too at some point. But these dudes with math and with gravity sensors, they look at what the universe is doing, or what it did a billion or so years ago, because it took that long for the light of the things that they're observing to get to us. You see what I mean?
I've always been fascinated because I know how small things they can they can contribute in so many ways to a larger picture.
Nothing else can.
Like I remember, I'll give you an example. One of my favorite people in the world, former middleweight champion, Emmett Linton. When I used to get up in the morning and get up 4:45 on the hill, just so tired.
You talk about that in one of your poems. One of the first poem, I think.
Well, not necessarily the first poem.
Oh, that's the one where you get on the bus.
Yeah, get on the bus. Yeah. One of the first poems. Mm-hmm. And just so tired. And Emmett would do his morning run. And Emmett would be like, he would always stop and say, "You can do it, man. You're doing good."
Nice.
And I think of, that little encouragement sometimes got me through, and like sometimes got me like I don't know what I'd have done some days, because
you know what, I know exactly what you mean, man. There was in Burlington where I grew up, there was an old Chinese dude that taught kung fu. He had a shitty little fucking building and taught awesome kung fu. He learned at Shaolin Temple and shit. And he would run barefoot to Cedro Woolley and back to Burlington every day at 6 a.m. And only people driving around, going to work that early, would see him. And he wouldn't stop and say much, but you'd just see this old dude running barefoot on a gravel trail for miles, and it was the same, like, dude, what the hell am I doing, Like, he didn't speak to us, but I mean, he eventually did. I was a student of his for a while, and he was a really, really great guy. Actually, recently got drunk with him in his kitchen, and he taught me a fucking couple of drunken kung fu moves. Like, that shit's real. Either that or he's really fucking good at making the shit up. I took a piss the first time I saw his bedroom. This was my old shout. He's a fucking he's a Taoist priest. He's got long gray hair, and he's fucking, you can't understand a word he's saying. He's Chinese as fuck. Actually, he's Taiwanese. I'm sorry, but I got drunk with him in his kitchen, and then I went to take a piss, and then you got to go through his bedroom to take a piss. And this is my kung fu master, and I was looking at his bedroom and shit. His 27-year-old girlfriend had just shown up with a fucking with a cooking pot full of half-empty bottles of booze for him. So it was just fucking bananas. And then I went into the bedroom, and it was like red silk, like Chinese shit, like gold trimmed red silk and shit everywhere. And then like 4,000 movies, like that's like DVD cases. That's what was stacked floor to ceiling. And then I pissed, and I came back out, and I was like, is drunken kung fu real? And he goes, oh, and he like stood up, and he started showing me some moves. It was fucking I didn't mean to get off track there, but let me
guy knew how to live.
Let's do a bar review. What do you guys think? You want to do a bar review?
Sure. I don't drink that. I haven't.
Well, no, we're not necessarily concerned with the drinks, but we want to talk about atmosphere. We want to talk about service.
Yeah.
We want to talk about clientele. We want to talk about the fucking toilets, man. I got issues with some fucking toilets.
Paint jobs.
Stop.
Sounds good.
I shouldn't have done that. Damn it.
Yeah. No, I was gonna talk about. Don't worry. Like,
okay.
I was gonna mention.
So I did. The can was already open. The worms were already.
Yeah, we had a pre-podcast, warm up about it. So, anybody have any bar they want to tackle in particular? I wrote a few down. You got one you want to?
I'm too new to give any type of.
Not true. I mean, a new guy's perspective is worth a lot.
I have a lot of perspective, but you throw them out. You two have. Trust me, I'll have my.
All right, I'm going to start with that new fucking Copper Hog. I'm going to start with the fucking new Copper Hog because their paint job fucking sucks. Whoever painted that place needs to shoot themselves in the fucking head.
It's really bad.
I'm over it. It's done.
I'll start with this. It's like a
the service was great, and I like the people working there, and I'll go there and I'll fucking give them money. But
you got
I'm going to complain about the paint every fucking time because it's terrible.
Actually, I'm gonna let you start with this because it's grinding your gears, as they say.
Well, no, I already got it out. I'm good now.
I like.
They don't need to shoot themselves in the head, but they should fucking They should hit themselves on the toe with a hammer.
When I give my friend Bob Houston his birthday text, I'm almost scared to bring it up because he was there when the Copper Hog was a restaurant, and kind of stopped being a restaurant when he left. And now maybe it'll be a restaurant again. But if that paint job looks like the vomit you're talking about.
Well,
let me describe.
So it's more bile than vomit. It's equally as displeasing, but it's not as messy. What it is, man. Okay, sorry to cut you off, Tommy, but I'm passionate about this. I have a lot of feelings about it. I'm losing fucking sleep over this shit.
No, I've been privy to 2 weeks of your passion about your disdain for this particular paint job. So get it out.
Yeah. So what they need to do is they need to deal with that shit because
people of Copper Hog.
Did you ever go to Daver Thumps in Mount Vernon?
No.
We called it Grabber Humps. It was a bar with pool tables and shit where you could fucking meet sketchy people. It was good, and then it turned into a rehab place. And I was just hearing a funny story about a friend of mine who went in to get his tire changed. There's a tire shop across the parking lot, and he went in to get a beer. And he didn't know, he wasn't paying attention to the signs. He just walked in, sat at the bar, and waited there for a little bit, and then yelled out, "Hey, what do I do to get a fucking beer around here?" Before he didn't know that, like, oh, this is actually a drug and alcohol rehab place now. And somebody had to explain it to him, which, I don't know. It's probably the wrong place. A bar, a place that was just closed down as a bar is now alcohol rehab.
Well, I mean,
that seems a little weird. Can I get a weird?
That's weird.
It is. It does sound weird.
Structures are structures. Yeah.
I quit cold turkey.
How long ago?
April 2014, and I had one slip up. But
well done, sir.
But the shakes were just,
yeah, they last about a week.
The way I was drinking, it lasted like 2.
Oh,
like I was putting it in. I was my God, I was white knuckling it.
Getting after it, huh?
Yeah, I had to go to the hospital twice.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was some tough times.
Well, I'm glad you made it through that. A lot of people. I mean, you're not alone. A lot of people have gone through it and learned their lessons. A lot of people have gone through it and not learned their lessons and fucked it all up. But you did it right. And you can write about it. Yeah.
But I can write about it, and
it's one of your weapons now.
It is.
You got an arsenal, my friend.
And I love to write in bars.
You're a writing warlord. I hope that's not negative.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I'm not.
I know it sounds aggressive, but I mean it as a term of endearment.
Like video game warlord. Like that's cool. Yeah.
I've seen you at bars before, Robert. What? I'm trying to think of I almost asked what's your purpose there. What a dumb question. What do you find there? Do you find solace there? Do you find reprieve? Are you looking for material? Do you enjoy some of the people because you know a lot of people here and they know you?
Those are some good questions. I write in bars for a series of reasons. The first reason was kind of an homage to my grandmother. The
who owned ran bars
for 28 years.
Yeah.
The second one is I only really go to 2 bars, and that's the Red Light and that's Temple, and the clientele there more the clientele in the Red Light, but the both staffs I really a lot of respect for.
I agree. Yeah. I've been up here for 3 months and I've maybe been to 6 bars, and as Bob could attest to, those are the 2, and that's where I've seen you sitting outside the Red Light. Hey, no, it's weird. Off of Bob's rent, we are doing a bar review.
Yeah.
So the Red Light. Let's talk about the Red Light. But no, all jokes aside, let's
talk about Red Light. Yeah.
Well, no, but continue. So, kind of an homage, but you are picking up material, perhaps from there, aside from the fact that you just like the places and the people.
Yeah, I and like after the bar review, I want to say one thing about the clientele, the Red Light, specifically one person. We can do the bar review.
No. I was totally joking. I because we kind of are doing a bar review.
Yeah.
We're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. So yeah, who?
One of the people at the Red Light, who I really loved, Clark Elliott.
Clark
passed away on Sunday. He was.
This is for Clark.
He there were so many layers of just wonderful to him. He kind of broke kind of like my icy veneer. He was so warm, he was so genial, and he was one of the most brilliant people I have ever come across with in regards to music, in regards to books. He like doing this podcast now, I'm got a lump in my throat, because he could have been a star on NPR. He was one of the most brilliant talkers in regards to the arts. And I give him, if you gave him a podcast, he would have been. But more than that, he was just an unbelievably decent person. So sweet, good-natured, and but also real and blunt and like
funny
as hell. And I like,
real's important, because what is sweet if someone's not real, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this the other night. It's like, I like it when my mom, tells me I look like shit, because then I know if she says, "Hey, you look great today," I know it actually means something.
Yeah.
And so I like that. Quick question: Was Clark still affiliated with the Red Light?
The Red Light. He was.
Yeah.
He was
that cat in the wheelchair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got to meet him, but I saw. You could tell that he was loved. That's what I do like about that place, and it seems like he sort of set a precedent, or definitely was kind of a.
He would hang out in the front row at shows with slam pits until it would get too gnarly. But, we would try to, when we'd get started dancing and shit, and we'd, we'd bounce off. I like to hit him on the shoulders, and just kind of jostle him a little bit when I was going by. But he would hang out up front for a while until he'd probably get elbowed in the head a few too many times and
again,
get tired of it and go to the back of the show.
But and new to town, it was this, and I probably irrelevant, was what happened on Sunday. Was this tied to while he was in the wheelchair?
I don't know what his specific thing was, Robert. You might know. I knew that it was obvious, or not, I don't want to say obvious, but his physical constitution was compromised somehow, and that was evident when, there are physical signs of that kind of stuff, and that was evident, but it didn't affect his personality. It didn't seem like,
it didn't affect his soul.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, here's to Clark,
Here's to Clark.
May he be running in sunny fields right now.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the fucking Red Light. Temple Bar. Let's talk about Temple Bar. Temple Bar's changed hands.
Yes.
And I really like the new owners.
Mm-hmm.
I have not met the owners. I've just been there a lot, probably more than I should.
You got to talk more into the mic, I think.
Oh, I haven't been there. I haven't met the owners.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're up in there.
I was trying to
wear these for a little bit so that you can get an idea.
Work with me.
It'll help. It'll help for just a second.
Okay.
I am not surprised that.
That's way more.
That's not going to work.
Just give me a sign when.
All right. Sounds good.
I think honestly,
ladies and gentlemen, this is the 4,000th episode.
But I think mostly Bob's just distracting me whenever I'm about to go on something. He's like, try these.
Tommy's about to talk. Throw something at him.
Unplugged microphones.
I have been waiting. I've been here for over 15 years. I've been here for 16 years. I have been waiting for a place that just has some greens that taste like home. I know it's a
yeah. They always got to have pickled fucking tree bark and beets and shit all over the place. I know.
I'm not talking about like like the Temple Bar. I'm talking about like just around Bellingham, because like the thing about the Temple, what made me so happy about the Temple Bar's new hash browns, the kind of where they have the greens and they have a little bit of brisket and they put it in with some with some vegetables and just put it in there. I mean, it's small, but whatever like that, those portions, they work, and they're so much better than the olive oil with four pieces of green that that the Bayou calls collard greens. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, so I'm happy. I'm just like, I've been starved for some greens that just taste close to home.
And home, because I know like hilltop kind of area of that Tacoma.
Yeah, Tacoma. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I'm happy for the new ownership in regards to that.
Yeah, and they seem to be doing well. They seem to be busy, which is good. It's a little different. They're not doing the employee yearly party, which is something that I really enjoyed.
Did you work there?
I did. Technically, I did. I mopped the floors and watered the plants for about 3 weeks.
To get invited to the party.
Until Chelsea, the old owner, realized that I did not know how to properly scrub mold from a toilet, which is true because I didn't. Because I never thought about it. Because you got to go up under that lip at the top of the toilet, whereas I just concentrate on the shit that you see when you look down it.
Were you like,
that other stuff is there? No. I think it was just a mutual. Like,
you were just kind of helping out, right?
I was. Yeah, I just wanted to do something. I was working for the fire department, and
well, yeah,
I wanted to. I was doing.
What do firemen do when they
clean fucking toilets?
Clean toilets.
That's what I did at the fire department too, man.
And
yeah, we all did.
What's that called? A highlight or whatever.
Highlight the toilet?
No, when you're taking a second job, you know, moonlighting.
Moonlighting
as a
moonlighting in the morning.
Right. Because right, anyone can get a fireman's job, but you had the opportunity to go and scrub toilets. Which, like, why wouldn't you? It was like, hey, yeah, I'm a teacher, but I moonlight as a professional rock singer. And you're kind of doing the same thing. It's like, nah, firefighter, whatever. Anyone could do that. Why not go scrub some toilets for the glory?
Yeah.
For the glory.
When I was a journalist,
rockstar motherfucker,
and wanting to be, when I was a journalist, my God, I was kind of like many 23-year-olds. I was kind of an idiot and kind of a braggart in regards to liquor, and I drink those neon liquors.
Yeah,
and I highlighted some toilets. Goddammit!
Oh yeah! oh yeah! The Technicolor yawn.
I was wondering because obviously, I was looking for the word moonlighting, and I knew when I said highlighting it wasn't right. And I have a man of words over here.
You get that
Mr.
light
Lashley.
popsicle blue Mad Dog 2020 bar. Dude.
So I know when I got Robert over here to Robert Lashley, not Robert Yapel, over to my left, and I was like, I know I'm looking for another word. I say highlighting. I'm looking for another word, but he's looking at me with this sign of approval, like you chose a right word. And I'm like, well, if he said go for it, and then I was like moonlighting. Wait, why didn't he correct me? Now I know why. It is the thing.
I had some growing up to do. Like I had to deal with my grandfather kind of took me in as and he became my father figure when I was 23 and a half, kind of remold me as a man. But before that, I was a pretty obnoxious journalist, and I was.
Who were you writing for? Sorry,
I was writing for the Northwest Dispatch, which isn't.
I remember that.
It's now defunct because of the new owner's son marked somebody, and that was 2002, and that was.
Now, what do you mean by mark somebody?
Mark murdered someone.
Okay.
And it was just so dark, and there was like, it ruined like 40 years of like, Miss Virginia Taylor, who was my first writing instructor and the first person to kick my ass, and I miss her every day. I'll tell you the story. July 2000, I want to go see Prince. I thought I could con my way into seeing Prince by saying that I was a music reviewer.
Nice, dude. Hell yeah.
I went into her office, Miss Virginia Taylor, while she was doing layout. And I come in with kind of the most ridiculous kind of macho voice and not myself, and be like, yeah, my name's Robert. I'm a music reviewer. You want to be like, Prince is coming, and you need somebody to write for the community. And she looked at me. She like the side eye, and this like, she said, "Okay, I'll get you the pass, but I'm gonna kick your ass, son." And
does she mean like for real?
No, she meant writing wise.
Nice.
And I and for 6 months I had like grad school where like I had to read 2 critics a week, and then 2 months later I had to read 3, and when she, like and when I would fuck up, and when I first gave her some bullshit papers, she'd call me and she'd say, "Robert, what do you why are you here sending me this copy that that needs commas, and that you fucked up all these participles, man? What are you doing? Like, do you want to give this to your people? You are embarrassing your people."
Nice, dude. She was your drill sergeant.
Like
she was your fucking.
And like,
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I'll never do it again. And like 6 months later, like,
that's awesome, dude. That's rad.
I became,
good for her.
Yeah, like
good for you for not fucking quitting, man. What that brings me to a question I wanted to ask you. I don't mean this totally literally, but I kind of do, because there have been people like this for me in my life, and it's pushed me further. It's not a negative thing. Whose writing has made you think about quitting because it was so good? Like the kind of writing that you're like, fuck, what am I doing?
Like let's see. I'll put in different genres.
Yeah.
Writing is so good that made me think about quitting. Like, if that is even literature,
even if that even exists in your world, you know what I mean? Like I've felt that way about other things. Like I'll hear somebody playing guitar, like learning to play guitar. I'll hear somebody playing a guitar that I'm like, why the fuck am I bothering doing it? It only lasts for a second. It kicks up a little bit of competitive personality, and then I keep going. But like
the novel, Faulkner. Poetry, it was W.H. Auden at first. Then somebody, there was a writer that got ignored, but probably won't be ignored anymore because of the Black Panther and the new interest in African mythology. A writer named Jay Wright. He wrote. He would write about mythology, and he would write about he would write in regards to symbolism, and he would write so intricately, and he would write so beautifully, and he would write these so complex structures, and I'm like, wow. And I think that he got ignored because, you know, I'm a straight shooter. I'm not a conservative, but when people fuck up, and I think there was a time, you know, and this comes in waves. Kind of radicalism comes in waves. Like there was a time when, you know, it was expected of black men to hit women and Jews and the white man with a hammer all the time, and Jay Wright, you know, didn't want to hit women and Jews and white men with a hammer all the time at all. Mm-hmm. And you think of the writers that got ignored in the '60s by some militants, Jay Wright, Michael Harper, Etheridge Knight, when he didn't want to, you know,
get the cause-minded horse blinders.
Yeah. Like, and one of the reasons why I've been like my poetry is so different, and my poetry just goes hard on like, my poetry doesn't like fit into any causes, is that like I kind of feel like I'm like their grandbaby, like they got
you are literally,
yeah, like they kind of like were more conciliatory toward that, like they kind of like were like saying, you know, they kind of said it kindly, you know, I'm different in this way, and they got punched in the face. Mm-hmm. And like the street and academic aspect of my poetry is my way of saying that that if you punch me, saying to radicals and militants, if you punch me in the face, you better kill me, because I'm going to fight until I verbally kill you.
Nice. Like, and that statement you just made was just like one of your poems. You're identifying. You think you pretty much get it, and you really don't get it until you read that last line. But then you realize you were getting it, but you just weren't getting all of it until that very last line, dude. And that was just like your last statement.
Word.
I think that would be the perfect rebuttal to a Robert Lashley versus Bobby Lashley fight as well. As we immediately declared, all of us, is that Bobby Lashley, the UFC fighter, kicked all of our asses. Yes. But the retort, and boom, I was trying to say,
yes.
Much less poetic and brilliantly than you, was what you just said. And you know, I guess it depends on the ring.
It depends on the ring. You're right. Yeah. And
you are a brilliant wordsmith, my friend. And
we can all learn how to punch people.
And you know, speaking of being different, you know, I've been wanting to know, you know, what is it like, not only as a writer, but what is it like being the only black man in Bellingham?
There's 3.
It hasn't been fun.
No, man. Right?
And it's complicated. When outside of my first answer to that is that when I kind of when I moved away from the literary scene and just hung out with kind of like people that, you know, who were less privileged and like more working class, and I picked my friends better. Mm-hmm. It became a lot more livable.
Yep.
But I still process some of the shit that I had to deal with, being the quote unquote black writer in town when I started off. I've been I'm just gonna just say it straight.
Oh, that's what we want, man.
I've been reading in 32 states.
Mm-hmm.
I have had mostly great experiences, some bad experiences. I'm used to that's okay because not everybody's gonna like me. If everybody likes me, I'm not doing my job. I have never had I've never had an instance in any other place where somebody gave me their keys and told me to valet their car. I never had an instance where a poetry organizer said that I'm only going there to steal wallets.
Miss Bellingham.
Damn, dude.
I mean, I never
only in Bellingham.
Like I never had I've never had
well, that speaks good for the rest of the fucking country, huh?
Yeah,
positive twist.
And I've had my theory in regards to popularity, whatever that is you put your tent and you make it as big as possible, and you become open, and you try to be as open as possible, and you try to make it as big as possible, but know that you're not gonna get everybody.
Yeah.
Know that you're not for everybody.
And in a way, it seems like Bellingham. I was just tripping on this when you're saying that Bellingham might be a perfect spot because I think personally that your writing is too much for most people that live here. And so this is kind of a good like neutral safety zone for you. Like you're not gonna like as much as I think you deserve to get jocked everywhere you go. Around here, I think your writing kind of like is just goes over the top of their heads, so you can work. You can go get a cup of coffee and you can work without talking to assholes like me. Every time I see you, I jock you for an hour and a half. You know what I mean? I know you're trying to work. But I gotta
like the guy that asks him over to a podcast, for instance.
Yeah, I can take it. I mean, I think that
does it fill your fire? Sorry, that's
it did for a long time. Like it taught me very good working habits. Like when I started and when Poetry Night was a big thing, I wasn't considered a smart enough writer. I'm not in the Poetry Night anthology. There are people in there that I love.
Again, in Bellingham.
I'm not in the Poetry Night anthology. But it taught me some good things. It taught me that not everybody's going to like me. It taught me that you better that you better work, and it taught me that you better know how to treat people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that those have been things, and there have been some of my friends who've really done some great work, and who haven't had the breaks that they deserve.
Like who? Plug them.
Like Jessica Lohafer.
Like
Dee Dee Chapman. My friend Ryler Dustin.
Are these local?
These are local. That they have done some great things.
You guys heard it. Go check those people out.
Check those people. You're absolutely right. I think that one of Poetry Night's problems in the community was that a lot of people believe their own clippings.
Mm-hmm.
That they thought they couldn't be criticized, and like my writer, like the thing that I learned about that is find people who will look at your work and maul it if it needs to be
What we went to earlier. If everyone tells me I'm fucking great looking, I'm gonna fucking believe it. But when someone tells me I look like shit all the time and they finally tell me I look good, then I feel like I actually look good.
Well, and
honesty.
Speaking of this, ladies and gentlemen, truthful. I asked Robert Lashley to look at some words that I wrote.
Yes.
And I am ready to get the shit mauled out of me by Robert Lashley.
And then we're gonna do this live, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. I have no idea what he's written, what he thinks.
I'm gonna
nothing.
take a pee. This is great.
we're gonna get into some critiquing. I've been working on trying to figure out if I should write a book or not, just for a lot of reasons that we'll talk about. But I asked Robert last week to look at my words and if he wanted to write some notes, give me some critiquing. I would love it because I need it, and that's what we're gonna do right now. So
Rolodex in my head. I
have
some questions.
Please take the gloves off, sir.
It's okay. Tell me, I like the Socratic method. Chapter 1 to the paragraph that's summer months. I see 4 parts. And the whole thing, my first thoughts is that my first instinctive thoughts is that I see, 4 stories here, and I see the potential for a book of vignettes. I think that Turgenev, the Russian writer Ivan Turgenev, wrote a series of like vignettes called the Hunter sketches, or it's usually called the Sportsman sketches. Depends on the translations. Like I have this in 4 parts. Sorry. Chapter 1 till before you talk about living outside the base of the mountains. That's one part I have. Sorry.
That's all right.
It's hard to balance all this. And from chapter 1 to the end of chapter 2, to chapter 1 until Two Finger Wave. That's chapter 2. Not to the beginning of chapter 2 to Two Finger Wave. I found that to be 2 parts. That's the second part. Two Finger Waves, the third part, and the story about the cat that killed somebody over some meth stuff is the fourth part. I think that what my advice to you is that my second kind of instinctive thoughts reading them is think of it as trying to find a beginning, a middle, and an end to each of them. I think that that I wanted to
is my lack of basic formal training totally obvious?
Yes, but if you're willing to put some elbow grease, I think that I think that you could do some things. Tell me about I was very intrigued by where the first part of chapter 1, the first 2.5 pages, the kind of almost like a vision of like the third or fourth level of hell, the kind of the purgatory. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it came out of the fright that I would experience as a small child when I'd run into these people that were living in a different dimension. They were people that were looked after in a mental hospital until it lost its funding, and then they were released. And then and they just wandered around in the town that I grew up in. And some of them were fucking pretty scary. Some of them were seemed innocent to myself because I was fast. I was dodgy. But the people that moved fast themselves, I would watch them, and they could move fast. They gave me this kind of ominous outlook when I would leave my parents' business in the downtown area and just go wandering around. So that's what I did. But I was always keeping an eye out for the people that were particularly frightening. So that it sort of shaped how I moved. You know what I mean? Like I got in the habit of moving around, looking, darting a little bit, hiding and observing.
Given that I hung around with so many crackheads, I hung around, but I was around so many crackheads.
Yeah,
I can sympathize.
Yeah,
I think, it's for I think that it's something that I kept wanting to almost like throughout this. It's like you're mining ideas throughout this. I think that in like I want like some like what I want you to do is spend 3 months, go HAM, go hard as a motherfucker, and just go crazy for 40 more pages. And then come to me, and then go crazy for 40 more pages.
And keep putting that work in.
And keep putting that work in.
Yeah.
The second part, of chapter 1, I liked. It made me. What do you think? Would you write a memoir? Or what would you think would it be?
I don't feel like I deserve a memoir necessarily. It would only be for my own personal recountenance and maybe for future generations of my family or people close to my family. But I would not mind taking things that I had been around or seen or been a part of and using it as creative fodder for a story, I think.
Because I wish that we had a town that was gritty enough to offer you a column of a version of what Langston Hughes would do with his Just Be Simple stories. Langston Hughes had a character called Just Be Simple that would just talk about
rings a bell, yeah.
like just like working class stories of people that I think that would like here like reading like
the real man working class literature version of the acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid, basically.
Yeah, just the and like what I liked about what I read is that I could see these people and I could see them without the kind of condescension of social media.
Yeah, that definitely has a huge influence in a lot of it.
And I think that one of the things that you got to work on is like when you have the materials down and when you do drafts and you have the kind of thing, write what's happening in the story, write what you want, write I have a question. This is real life.
Yeah.
I think write think of think of it like you have some good instincts as an oral storyteller.
Thank you.
Like stay with them. But one thing you got to work on is all the parts where you're talking to the reader.
Mm-hmm.
you rewrite them and show show the reader what you are show the reader what you want to tell them. You show and not tell. Like, I'll give you an example. Let me find them. I'll give you here. I got the biggest example was chapter 3.
Yeah, this is awesome.
The you find it. Boss's house after that shoot. I didn't mess up these. Oh God, like you're like the where he taught me about owning the job site and not like just tell me about how working with Pierre was great. Or are you talking about? Tell me, no. Write about. Show me.
It must be at the end of chapter 3.
Yeah, the end of chapter 3.
Yeah, dude. I'm totally not done with that. I'm not done with any of it. But yeah, I hear you. Okay, that ended really. The chapter ended really quickly.
Like where you have these. You have these discussions throughout where you're talking to the reader and you're saying that this reader is a great person, and I agree with you, and I take you at your word for it. You got to show them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, show them. I haven't read Bob's work.
You're one of the lucky ones.
Show them. No, Bob. I've read some of your writing before.
It's fun. I'm having fun. I have no formal training. This is the most formal training I've ever had with writing. Is this right here?
Here, I'll
please.
Before I'll tell you one thing. When you have a draft, just write what happens. In the
I gave you the lazy endings. Is what I gave you. Those weren't done enough to give you. Is what I think the deal is.
Just think beginning, middle, and end. And here's some people that I recommend that you read. If you haven't read them already, have you read Nick Flynn?
Nope.
Read Nick Flynn. Have you read J.R. Moringer?
Nope.
Read J.R. Moringer.
This goes for you too.
Who was the other one?
What? I don't need to take notes if you're going to take notes. Just read your notes.
The top of my tongue. God, it's God's top of my tongue. If I'll come back to it. It's there's one more. But there's a writer. There's an essayist. His name's Sean Bowers. He can be cranky but you're like, we're grown enough to read and love people who we can disagree with sometimes. You are all grown here.
Absolutely. Can we do a segue really quick with that into G.G. Allen?
G.G. Allen. Tell me about G.G.
Okay, so Tommy, I'm gonna let you take this because it's my turn to go in there.
Man. That's what you're gonna leave me with. Are you familiar with G.G. Allen?
No.
Then I don't want to segue into that. What I'm gonna do is I want to talk about something. I don't feel like it's anything. Feel free to look him up. He was an insanely extreme musician. To the nth degree, nobody could probably be comparative in any type of sense. He was punk rock and roll, I guess. He was... Well, it doesn't really matter. Feel free to look him up. I'll give you all the information.
He was the Gangsta Nip of punk rock.
No, he was 1,000 times more than Gangsta Nip, because Gangsta Nip was crazy via his lyrics. As part of... no, he wasn't Bushwick Bill either. Bushwick Bill didn't assault his members as much as he might have done stuff in real life. what he talked about and what he did on the show was slightly different. G.G. Allen was considered performance art, but we're talking fecal matter wiped on himself, shoving bananas up his ass, cutting himself, penetrating himself, assaulting his fan base that came to see him specifically for this. It's worth checking out from a fascination point. But what I want to talk to you about more, because now that we got Bob in the bathroom and he's trapped, is Bob doesn't like Diggable Planets, and I like Diggable Planets.
I don't like Diggable Planets.
And we were talking about Tribe. Hey, hold on. We were talking about Tribe De La, who I think had something. They were from the same places. What I found fascinating about that is it was something that you could listen to. Take other musicians that are finally now kind of getting recognition. PM Dom, for instance, when people are like, when it's other MCs finally coming out 20 years later and they're like, the motherfucker was actually super talented, brilliant.
I was a scared little nerd in 1991, which means I loved PM Dom.
But he was actually amazing. Like, he was an amazing musician.
He was.
But and I wanted to bring him up earlier when you were talking about that shit where it's like, you don't want to talk about NWA, and the people were like, oh, you're a bitch. But just to fuck with Bob now, kind of, but also because I want to talk to you about it, just because I really like Diggable Planets. They were different. You had 3 different people from 3 different Philadelphia, New York, and Seattle. Butterfly, a.k.a. Ishmael, a.k.a. Shabazz Palaces, a.k.a. Cherry Wine, is from Seattle, son of a fairly prominent jazz musician. Bob's other thing he wanted to talk about tonight, and we'll talk about Scotch later. I'm doing this as a fuck you to Bob, but also because I'm interested. Your thoughts?
My mic's been off the whole time. I've been talking mad shit over here, dude.
Jazz and Diggable Planets.
What's your thoughts on Diggable Planets? Because I have a theory.
I don't hate them. They run hot and cold for me.
I agree.
I think Ishmael's problem, he might be the most gifted MC that can't write a beat.
I could absolutely agree with that. It makes sense. His amazing beats are almost every song, whether it's and I'm not even gonna talk about Rebirth is Slick, right? Cool like that. But where I'm from, all these ones are not even in that own song he's talking about digging through jazz stacks, but he's coming out with pretty popular jazz cuts. Sampling to the nth degree. But here's my one thing that I've always wanted to talk about Diggable Planets was, is Reaching a New Refutation of Time and Space, is that a concept album about these insects that come to another planet, they get a live thing. Their first video is them, right? It's them in kind of a jazz alley kind of place, doing a live situation. Is it a concept album that if you really play it all together, is it a concept album in your opinion? I think it is.
You have to watch Wizard of Oz at the same time, but
I know. You've never listened to the album because you won't get past the first song without murdering somebody.
I think
I'm gonna waterboard you with Scotch whiskey one day, just so you know.
I think it is a Scotch album.
A Scotchy jazzy album. Nightmare.
Thank you. Yes.
I think that that Refutation set. I think it has its place. Here's where Refutation has its place. It gave a template for people who wanted to do it. Was that's not the right word. Find the right word. It opened the door for people who wanted to do experimental things on a big level.
Yep.
Right.
The question that I remember, like a lot of Dorks, I remember liking it because it was conscious and it was brainy. I'm 39 now. I still think it just not everything works. I think that but if without that we wouldn't have some of the amazing music that we have now. But it was, it took somebody like Kendrick to take some of those avant-garde ideas and make them brilliantly translatable and make them and put them on a like on a hook, like the Top Dog, what Top Dog is doing right now, the kind of that crew. I mean, you can tell that they that they've listened to Diggable Planets.
Absolutely.
And
but you can also tell that they know how to that they can write a better song.
Well, right. and that's the thing. And so at the same time, when Diggable Planet, if I'm remembering correctly, it was around the same time as Dell, as the Fushnikins, as a lot of that. But it was also, I think, what really took me away from the Diggable Planets, as one example, was Wu-Tang.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was the same time. And it was like, when I would hear Diggable Planets, I wouldn't get mad.
But you're a guy who listens to 50 things. How would one take you away from the other?
When you would play it side by side with Wu-Tang, there was... It just didn't measure up.
Yeah, but okay, so sometimes like maybe you like some hardcore funk, but then maybe you want to listen to Luther or Green or something like that. Yeah. And Diggable Planets to me was like kicking back on a Sunday, going through and like
it was Sunday afternoon music.
Yeah, same with Farside and Souls and all.
I like Farside, but and like the kicking back. That's something that I realized a couple years. That's something I realized a couple years ago is that I could use a bigger influx of kickback music because all the music that I fucking listen to is pretty jamming. You know what I mean? Like it usually has some kind of it has some kind of something to it, and I've been trying to kind of. I turned it off just because I had feedback, but I think it's on now.
I was so privileged to have my grandmother in this way because my grandmother would organize records to her mood. Mm-hmm. So like her Saturday afternoon music was just or her cooking music or her blues music where she had to cry, mm-hmm. or her so like her Saturday afternoon music, like just like old time slow jams where you have like Isley Brothers, DeBarge before El DeBarge became a crackhead.
So I'm a history nerd, right?
Yeah.
And so and that includes with music, right? So I was when I was I go through different phases. I'll nerd out on a type of music for a few months, and then I'll get tired of it, and I'll come back to it a year later. And then I'll just go through a year-long cycle like that. And when I was nerding out on blues, I was reading the Robert Johnson book, and they talked about these recordings of hollering. And these recordings were made in the 1920s by a guy, and I can't remember the name, but I could find it out really easily. And that shit... That, like, there's some old blues recordings that you hear it, and it came out of the jungle because the Delta was a jungle before it was a Delta, and the conditions. I mean, it was fucking
yeah. Yeah, a lot of it came out of the Delta,
and then the voices of that fucking hollering shit, that pre-blues that they caught it on a record player. The very it was like the death throes of those voices that had been singing those songs for a long time, and it's a voice of the past, kind of like the any old film, any film recording from the early 1900s gives you a quick view of the past. But anyway, the shit makes the hair on your arms stand up when you hear it, dude. It's so good.
I wish we could, and this is talking about what you were talking about. I do want to talk about, because I'm all about playlists. Bob's about lists. You're about lists, because I listen to you all day. But real quick, before we get into that, because I want you to finish talking about your grandma setting her playlists together. Basically, setting playlists
for her
before
moves.
we had playlists when it actually meant something, because you had to go grab a certain stack of records, have them lined up.
Oh, yeah.
But is there anything more like haunting and almost beautiful than, and I don't think you could replicate it, but late 20s to maybe early 40s, kind of shittier recording studios, and you get in these people's voices. Now, say, take a Mississippi John Hurt, or, obvious one here, Lead Belly, right? And you hear, you're thinking of, what's his most famous song?
RJ is. Robert Johnson to me is
right. Robert Johnson.
Pinnacle
But you're listening to the voice. Now that's not exactly what he sounded like, and it's like if we went back in time, it would probably be less haunting. But you listen to
or
like,
more.
Where did you sleep last night? Like you listen to
or more
Lead Belly,
you know?
And it's such a haunting tune, but add into the poor recording quality and everything else. But okay. That was just going off of what you were saying. Your grandmother is putting together the proverbial playlist that we all know and enjoy today at the push of a finger. And it's like, oh, Tom's "I'm Kind of Sad Right Now" list. She had them the old way.
She had them, and she had built in. Like a fake bookshelf, because my dad was a crackhead. He would try and sell the records.
Damn.
So we would open the bookshelf, and so she would have these records that were according to her moods. So like, let's say it's a Saturday, and it's Soul Train's on, and she wants to cook. So, her cooking music would be something just kind of just smooth and kind of spacey with smoothed out chords. Kool and the Gang.
Yeah.
Kool and the Gang. Something with like a lilting melody.
Willie Hutch.
Willie Brothers Gonna Work It Out. Yep.
I love Willie Hutch.
Candy Staten.
Candy Staten. Young Hearts Run Free, but also where she get going would be where she would Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh yeah.
Like she would have these playlists, and I would play the records for her, and it was I miss her every day.
Yeah.
I miss her every day.
I'll say this, Robert, just listening today and reading some of your stuff, I wish that there was a way, and I know a lot of people in my family and the people that I care about, to do what you did. Your love, your miss of your family, the people who've touched you. I felt it. I know. I mean, it's weird, and I'm not romanticized with your literature yet. I'm brand new to it, to your spoken word. I know these people, and I'm not easy to grab. And Bob knows this. I'm all over the place, and it's hard to get me in.
The tribute that
you've done
them.
something that got me, and it got me quick. And I know them by names. You're bringing stuff up, and I'm already quoting. I don't know if I could do that to authors who I've studied and read for 20, 30 years, and yet you start with something, you're like, this is going to get me into this, and I was like, I know it. I was like, crack, like before you even started. But the people that touched your heart, I don't know if I've seen a better tribute or anyone who's paid better homage to the people that have touched them as well as you have.
And that means a lot.
And it means know what it means to me? Some really special people, and I feel lesser for not getting to know them, because they sound truly Beautiful people.
They had some. It was my way of giving the story a happy ending, and because for a very long time, the story wasn't a happy ending, and that I was poetry was my way of just putting a coda to how it ended, and I'll talk about it a little bit. The last 2 years of my grandmother's life were really dark. My uncles were gone. My Uncle Mo had gone back on the sauce, and everybody knows there was going to be a day of reckoning coming, and we just almost couldn't. We felt powerless to stop it with my father, and July 19th, 1994, my grandmother is going to church, and my father tries to shank her for money, tries to hit her for money.
God damn.
And she has her final break. She has a break. And remember the church festival? She put her hands up, and she just had this kind of scream that just came like, "I am done. I am through with you. Do not come back. Don't ever see me again. I am finished. I can't take this anymore."
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
Gnarly.
And it was almost surreally cathartic, because it was almost like it was years coming, because it was almost like it was because he had just been so fucking monstrous. He was monstrous to me. He was monstrous to his mother. He was monstrous to my brother. He was just monstrous to everyone, because that crack. And no, it wasn't the crack. He was addicted to self-pity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that day we go back. We drive back into Lincoln. My grandfather, my grandmother, and me. And so it's a hot day, and she kind of just feels a little more levity. She's sick, and she probably wouldn't have had that much longer to live. But she's feeling good that day, and she's talking about wanting to go see a ball game the next week. It was the Tacoma Tigers back then. They're the Rainiers now, but they were Tacoma Tigers back then. And so I remember, I remember a rumble, and it's just an acceleration. And I remember my dad coming in the door, and me going, and him giving me a clothesline, bam, off a wall, and him having a kind of an emo sort of tantrum with her wheelchair.
Huh.
And my grandmother's trying to get away, and he's just trying to shake her wheelchair, trying to get away, trying to shake her wheelchair, trying to get away, just like and just wanting money, and just screaming and crying and screaming and crying and screaming and crying and screaming and crying.
Just acting like a fucking
lunatic.
Yeah.
And the brake pops. She's right here. And the door to the steps is right over here. Brake pops. Pop. falls down the stairs. And 7 days later, she was gone.
Huh.
Police came. If you see somebody that happened to somebody, you are not a font of wisdom. I was catatonic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was schizo. And it's...
How old were you?
I was 16. And I've had health problems ever since.
Did nightmares?
Nightmares. Just, I would act out. I started drinking. I would go into like dissociative personalities, macho man, and somebody else that you try to get away from not being.
Did it make you mad at older men, like dudes your father's age and shit?
I worked through that.
Yeah,
I did. And
it's such a pivotal time as a human being, just with the normal things that go on, like first loves, blah blah blah, and then you're dealing with turmoil amongst your family, your blood.
That's your dad too. I mean, that's
it's
deep shit.
People you love, fuck, man.
It's I always go back to, I had that, like, I always kind of just go back to the good to try and flush out the bad, because there's a lot of bad.
Were you writing yet at that time? Is this?
I wanted to at the time I wanted to be an architect. And till from I wasn't writing at all. And I wanted to be I wanted to be a fighter, to be a boxer, and process of that. And I was pretty good, but I drank a lot. And you can't be a good fighter if you're a drunk.
Yeah.
And you can't be a good writer if you're not. No, I'm just kidding.
I did it for a while. I think that
that was a fair quip, though.
Yeah, it was a fair quip. It was like you've got to live a little. I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Like
you can't write if you're dead.
You can't write if you're dead, but you can't. You
lived a lot in your childhood, whereas some people don't live a lot until they start drinking in their 20s, and then they have experiences.
Thank you for opening. Thank you for opening and telling that story.
And
jeez.
Yeah, thanks for fucking depressing the shit out of us now.
I carry some things, but another person that really helped me was my mom.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who don't know that, I grew up in the neighborhood. I have, that, but my mom was a white feminist English major.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, and she was as good a mom as I could, as anybody could have, as anybody could have had at the time. She went through a lot in her life. She passed away in November, and I'm still processing that.
Of 2017?
Yeah. And I felt, some days I felt like until I was 24, she was a better mom to me than I was a son to her. I had some shit to work.
I know what that feels like.
Would she say that? Of course she wouldn't say that.
Of course she wouldn't say that.
Do you think she felt that way?
Hey Robert, can I take a branch off here really quick?
No problem.
Did you experience prejudice from the black community for having a white mom?
That's a good question. and I'll go back into the question before after I answer this.
And vice versa.
Yeah. My mom and my aunt Marilyn and my aunt Pat, we noticed something. We called it the spotlight. Working in living in Hilltop, we were actually treated better among black folks because they were, they're trying to raise the kids, and we're in the same situation, and there's always good and bad apples, and there were some bad apples, especially at the food bank, where like men would try to like pull shit, and I had to be the little attack dog, the guard dog.
Yeah.
But in places where people could perform and get away with it, we got a lot of shit. And especially in the 90s, where kind of that first kind of wave of political correctness came. Yeah. And I think there's a class thing too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We could go on for a while about that.
Like working class, black people probably treated us better than anybody. Performatively woke people probably treated us the worst, other than
I believe that.
Other than good old fashioned racism.
Yeah,
and there was a lot there too. And the university place was a sundown town. It still had sundown laws. By the time I was there, they took them off the books when I was 18.
Was that everybody home by sundown?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So we just got it from everybody. So like I struggled with my anger, and I struggled with that. But when I was 24, I decided to get right. And the last part of my life, like having my mom as a friend, and taking responsibility for my life, and just having that kind of, you know
what she did when she left, man? She fucking passed the torch of manhood on you, because like I don't feel like a grown ass man still, because I still got my mom. You know what I mean? I haven't gotten to the level of maturity yet where I can let my mom go. You know what I mean? I know that sounds metaphoric and silly, but that's sort of the twist my mind plays on your situation. You know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying, and I think that it's not necessarily a bad thing, though.
No.
One of the beautiful things is just the people that came to see her in her last days, and like in Tacoma, and like where you have nurses, and you have nurses, majority black women, and you're talking about majority black women, you're talking about people who bought my books.
Mm-hmm.
And to see her treated so well was just that she saw it then,
mm-hmm.
that she saw that
she was proud of you, huh?
Yeah. That was
yeah, she could leave the room knowing that you got this.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's the best thing you can do for your mom.
And
that's awesome.
And that's why I put in the 8-hour days.
Hell
that's
yeah, man.
She worked 22 years. Fine jewelry. This was during most of that time where she had to wear high heels on a marble floor. She had 22 years. That was her way to get out of to get out of the projects. And so that's why I put in 6 to 8 hour days.
Hell yeah.
And working on this novel, working on new poems, working on Gonna talk to somebody about an essay book tomorrow.
I want to congratulate you on your success as a writer, man. This is how you make your living. You just toured the country. You in my eyes, like you're kind of like the Black Sabbath of like poetry or something. You're like a punk rocker or something, but you're not. You're a fucking brilliant poet. You're like any. What am I trying to say here? I picture you on the road, like sleeping on people's couches and eating with people or doing what the fuck ever, like. But you're making a living. You're not scraping by. You're not just making gas money, dude. You're making a living in it. I mean, talk about rare.
I have 5 rules. Bellingham artists who are listening to this, hear me out good.
Listen up now. Listen up.
5 rules for being on the road and being semi-famous. 1.
Yeah.
Whoever is assisting you, feed them.
Yes.
2. Nothing harder than weed. Alcohol, yeah, but nothing harder than weed.
Good advice.
3. Understand the difference between long money and short money. If you can get a gig with somebody that your friends will be ashamed of you, if you do, don't get the gig. 4. People, when your swag will go away. Your imprint on somebody will not. And 5.
I like that last one.
You don't have to be nice. Nice is so overrated. But try and be kind. And those are my 5 rules. Being semi-famous.
Very good. Hell yeah. I've
wholeheartedly agree.
I've traveled the country with shitty bands and all that, and I know I can relate to every one of those rules. They're all absolutely spot on. Yeah, and the only other thing that I would add to it would be to start fasting and starving yourself a month before you go on the road, so that when you're eating top ramen and eggs once a day for 2 months, it doesn't make you bleary and dizzy.
And if you are big enough, to add on to what he just said, if you are big enough, you make sure the kids who are eating top ramen and eggs, eat some, pay for the Waffle House.
Get them some cold cuts.
Yeah.
Pay for the Waffle House.
Yeah, man.
But by the way,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, we need a Waffle House.
There were people there would be periods of time on the road where you'd go a stretch for a week or so, and it was getting gnarly, and then you would. They had a thing at the time called Book Your Own Life. It was a book that had addresses of people who would be open would be open to people.
That was Maximum Rock and Roll.
Yeah. They would let you stay at their house, and you'd play a show in their fucking in their storage unit or their barn or their bomb shelter thing downtown, whatever. And they would take you in. You'd sleep on their floor. They'd feed you. It was fucking brilliant.
Can I tell you this story?
Yeah.
Best tour. This is the best touring story. This is the best plane story that I will ever have in my life. The day is late July 2016. I got on my all black suit on. Thinking I am the coolest black man in the vicinity. I'm just looking myself up and down.
You're like the black Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I'm feeling.
What the fuck is cooler than that?
I'm feeling cool. I'm feeling cooler as shit. And when I look up, and I see these row of just 40 brothers, 20 of them wearing matching. 20 of them have matching black tracksuits. 20 of them have an array of just silk suits.
Uh-huh.
Just looking just smooth, and they're just pointing. pointing,
Yeah.
and pointing. And some people just say, "Oh, God," and they're just really just looking good. And I'm like, "Well, just I'm not gonna be the coolest person on this flight. Gee golly, gosh darn it." And just like but I was like, they were smooth, and they were just like, they coming through and just like, just looking good and just living right and just all right. This is gonna be a cool flight. So I come in. I'm in 7A, and
you're up there. You're up front. You're first class.
It's right next to first class
on the literal soul plane.
Yeah, literal soul plane. With so 7A, so like I'm sitting over there. Guy comes in here and he says, "How you doing, brother? I bought 7B, so we're gonna have I wanted my own room, so we both gonna have a good flight." And I'm like, "Yes, we are, sir. Would you like some chocolate?" And like, this is great. This is just lovely. So I'm just feeling good, and everybody is just calm and chill. And one guy comes in, and he brings his entire luggage. He
didn't fucking put nothing in the
he brings
in the locker. He brought it all.
He brought it all, and he wanted to put the start in. And the stewardess says, "Sir, just let us take the bags in your luggage, and you can pick them up when we get off the flight to Newark." And he starts getting all racist and making fun of her heritage. And
so what was who?
The lady was the stewardess was Asian, and the dude was white, and
he started talking shit on her about being Asian.
Talking shit. And so what happened was two of the brothers, two in suits, three in the tracksuit, surrounded him. Ain't gonna have that, brother. We're not having this bullshit today. No, fuck that shit. So we ends up getting kicked out, and the 40 of them,
rightly so.
The whole 130 of clapped. The whole plane clapped. Yeah. And then wait a little bit, and then the stewardess comes out and she just says, "Oh my God, I've been fans of you for so long, and just here, have all this free food. Would you like some free?" Just starts throwing candy, and because I am a sharp dressed black man at the time, assuming that I was part of the group. So I'm getting all this, Snickers and Coca-Cola, and just like, wow. Like, and she was like, I'm never going to forget this. I've been fans of you for so long. And I'm like, wow, my God, there's like, who are you guys?
Who are we?
There's 40 of you.
Right, there's 40.
You must be influenced by Kool and the Gang or someone. You must be a band.
Do not tell me it was the Globetrotters.
So...
He would mention their height, I imagine.
So after I say that,
they got a midget.
They like two of them kind of come over. Two of them kind of like look over, and like I'm just surrounded by these very smooth looking black men, and we're having a conversation. The goes in the air, and we're having a conversation, and we're like, and he's like, "Hey, brother, what do you do?" I am a strange genius award nomination. I have a best-selling book. I'm an award. I have these awards. What do you got to do? Oh, we're a band. And he just says it. Like what do you do? What band? Oh, we're just a band. And old brothers.
And this is one that he doesn't know too. You got to remember that it's not like he's not versed.
I was kind of high. I was kind of high. We'll say that. So old brothers, sometimes when they laugh, they kind of sound like the varmint in that not to say old brothers are varmints, but they kind of sound like the varmint in those old cartoons.
What's Sam with the mustache?
Yeah, Sam with the mustache. Yeah,
something Sam.
Yeah, just like, and just to hear this kind of
rootin' tootin',
and when he laughs, he kind of sounds like an 83 Cutlass, kind of trying to start. Shit, yeah. So they just asking me these questions.
It's too much for him. He's like, he can't contain himself.
It's like they're asking these questions, and And so like after a while, it's 12:50. We're probably midair. We're in Detroit, and I'm like, I'm gonna find out who you guys are. So I go into first class. The other flight attendant, oh, that's the steward, I guess, puts his hand on my hand and says, "Bruh, it's Kool and the Gang.
It really is.
You are on a flight with Kool and the Gang." And I turned to look in the last seat in first class. There is a very Buddha-like William Cool Bell going like this.
And you just hadn't noticed him yet because
Yeah.
the 39
Yeah.
other motherfuckers
Yeah.
that are sitting
William
there.
Cool
Yeah,
Bell.
shit.
And
By the way, you're a good storyteller because you threw me off because you know I wanted the ending, but you threw it off because you're like, this is like some cool thing.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. I am.
Did you get to engage?
They were the most well-behaved group of men I have ever seen in my life.
I mean, isn't that being cool though? Isn't that what being cool is?
Yes.
Like, you know,
they knew who they were. They knew they had it. So much of their music is reaching people.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's like they knew.
And talk about, I mean, it's crossover too.
Yeah.
I mean, like a motherfucker. You know?
Yeah.
Allude back to what you were saying though. You know, you're talking about Mo and Herman and all them. To your grandmother, being cool was being noble and respectful. Like that was a cool thing to do.
Like one of the things, like it was like one of the things that I always like kind of fall back on is that the fact that, you know, I had a monster for a father. I had some lions for surrogates. Oh my God. And I needed them to survive. I needed all of them to survive. I mean, but I had some giants for surrogates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert, tell me about scum eating. What's up with scum eating, man? I'm a punk rock guy. I hear that and I'm like, how come I don't know about that?
It was something that I really loved for a while.
What was it?
It was once it was kind of me with Chris Gusta and just a cast of characters that were
This is Hilltop.
No. This is Bellingham.
Bellingham. Okay.
I was in a band called Scum Eating with me, Chris Gusta,
okay.
Jessica Murphy, and a rotating cast of characters, and we just kind of, we had kind of just very loud, danceable noise music.
Danceable noise? Is that what it was?
Yeah. One of the things that did frustrate me is that after we practiced for a while, and then we didn't want to practice anymore.
Were you doing vocals?
I was doing vocals.
Yeah.
And I was writing the songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I like some of the songs. I like I don't know what I'm doing, but I really want to do it with you.
Yeah, I know.
Like, girl, I want to bake you some bread. I get these goddamn bros out of my house. I am it ended over some conflicts, but I forgive it.
So name of the band again?
Scum Eating.
So Scum Eating.
Yeah.
DJ.
It was
Shields. What was the?
Oh,
DJ
that's
name?
this is DJ Brooke Shields
right,
here in front of us. Yes,
Okay.
the one and only.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So I guess I could be asking you.
Did you identify with that name when you were in that band?
I
did.
Robert Lashley as the poet that I listened to for about 3 hours today, finding everything I could, especially some of your lunch. Well, no, there's a lot of long shows. It was great. Well, at work.
No.
And then meeting you the other night, and then really talking to you tonight. Is your music, your art? Is this your escape? Is it almost your alter ego? You've said that. I mean.
Scum Eating, I kind of wanted to put a sweet aspect to, like, screaming. So it is my alter ego, but it really wasn't.
Were you screaming when you did it?
Yeah, like I was kind of like wanted to be inclusive, like girl, I want to bake you some bread was like a kind of a play on the kind of girl songs. Yeah. Or this yeah.
The guy at the club.
Yeah, motherfucker in the. I was
could you?
Yes,
could you? Real quick, while you're looking that up, my question is about, I guess, sort of your alter egos. This is very exciting for me, by the way, that this is about to happen. But alter ego, you talked about you had the things with your dad. You had that, and then you had your lioness, your club, your haven, the basement. These people. Did that kind of create this thing where, and you've alluded to the fact that you're a nerd, but then you could switch it on where you can like throw the tough thing. Do you find shelter in kind of going into other characters? Is Robert Lashley the poet a coat of armor, so to speak, or is it you're lashing out and venting out, and it's like you're fuck you to everything that's like. Is it your strength? Is it your power?
I think that I understand like the thing I understand about I'm at best as a poet when I take off the mask. My mask as a poet is my anti-mask. It can be different things at different times. Like motherfucker in the club. I used to be a teaching artist. Until I just, I was very unorthodox, and putting I would instead of telling kids that okay, now it's time. We're going to read this young adult novel that has nothing to do with your life in Renton or in Hilltop. I'd be like, yo, let me holler at you for a minute. Let me tell you a story. College dropout. Loves his mama. Kind of misanthropic. Has a hard time acting. His homie is his best friend, but he sometimes wears him out. Has a problem with his landlord, flips the fuck out, gets in trouble. Does a dark and evil thing. Is on the lam from the popos. Tries to find himself. Tries to find his heart. Would you want to read this story? Yeah. Well, let's read Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So you got to trick them. Old age and treachery will overcome youth and skill, they say,
And last year was probably my final time as a teacher because...
Yeah.
Oh, God, it was just...
You're still teaching.
Not anymore. Thank you.
But you're still
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, but you don't like working with kids or with the system or the school system.
I think someday that the school system will bring me back, but it won't be in any slam poet teacher environment.
Is that what you were this last time?
The slam poetry organizations were always the one that I chafed with because they were 20-something Microsoft and Amazon tech bros who didn't know how to talk with kids from the block who felt that they should be saved and not heard.
So they were trying to take a class to figure out how to talk like that, or what?
They thought that they would come in. People talk about quote unquote white saviors in the hood, but black saviors in the hood are crappy too.
Mm-hmm. Saviors,
saviors are crappy.
Yeah,
you take the label off of it and shit.
Yep.
Yeah, and where don't not knowing how to talk to not everyday people in the block, not, people who aren't going to give you compliments all the time, people who want to who want you to show up and be professional all the time. And if you are professional and you get in those relationships and you get, and you handle your business, there'll be another time for, kindness and all that stuff afterwards. But you'll get your shit done. And you have these, problem is you have so many, like right now where Seattle is, where you just, if you can afford to live there, you're probably not likable as a poet.
Or a person. Or a fucking person in general.
Like most likely. And
I got some, wait, but real quick though. I got a couple friends that live in Seattle and I love them dearly. And that's
poets.
They're not poets, but they're people. But they're the only people that are likable there.
I bet if they're likable.
And there's only 3 of them.
Do they live in Capitol Hill?
One of them does.
Or Ballard.
One of them does.
Good.
One of them
you're
does.
Right. That's
and also, if
cyber stereotyping.
In Seattle, they probably know and would have.
They know too.
Well, we got Bloom and Peter. Those are the other ones.
Oh, they're in Seattle. I'm sorry, Amanda and Peter. Y'all wonderful. I don't mean to stereotype.
And there's another Amanda that lives there that is a dear friend of mine.
Guys,
my fine feathered friend. What up? You got somebody? You got somebody, Tommy? No?
One of my favorite moments of the day and one of the things I was most excited about tonight. We're going to do it. We're going to talk about dudes in the club.
Motherfuckers in the club? Let's read this poem.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I had to say a little extra at work today because I lost productivity time.
Because of this?
So,
nice.
This story. Georgetown. Oh, boom, 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 boom. Startup club at Georgetown. At a time when the situation in Georgia is so boom, 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 thing was supposed to be working. I have a former student who is getting off work, and we're going to just catch up before I split and go back to Tacoma. So what happened was it was boom, 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 and we're in the cloud. I'm just on the side. There's this dude, and I don't know where his clothing was, but I knew it came from a mall. And he started just feeding lines, just tired lines. We're like, nah, bro, it ain't that kind of party. Nah, bro, it ain't that kind of party. And so we're about to leave, and I see him. And I see him with a neon drink. And I'm like, I remember when I drank neon drinks and I wasn't shit. And so he takes something out of his pocket. And I'm like, I maybe wasn't shit, but I'm gonna never do that. Oh, fuck this guy. He comes closer. And he comes closer. And he comes closer. And this poem, after Wallace Stevens' 13 Different Ways of Looking at a Blackbird, is called 13 Different Ways of Looking at a Motherfucker in the Club. 1. Among 20 bros in the club, the only thing moving toward my cousin was the eye of the motherfucker. 2. I was of 3 minds, like the IQ of the motherfucker in the club. 3. The motherfucker in the club whirled in the autumn wind. It was a small part of some corny bro dance. 4. A Maxim magazine and Axe body spray a 1. A Maxim magazine, Axe body spray, and a motherfucker in the club a 1. 5. I do not know which to prefer. The time when the motherfucker in the club says to my cousin, "Girl, I want to sop you up like a biscuit." Or, "Girl, you look good at not seasoned greens with." Or, "Girl, if your left leg is Christmas and your right leg is New Year's. Can I visit you in between the holidays? 6.
That one's terrible.
Bros filled the window with barbaric glasses of liquor a rapper drank on BET. The motherfucker in the club drank them to and fro. An indecipherable case. 7. Oh, thin bros of Seattle. Why do you imagine that you could put Hypnol in my cousin's drink? Do you not know my juvenile assault record when you walk the feet of the young lady around me? 8. I know noble accents and lucid, inescapable rhythms. But I know, too, that if the motherfucker in the club gives you that drink, I'm going to catch a case. 9. When the motherfucker in the club flew out the window. 10. At the sight of the motherfucker in the club flying outside the window, a bowl of euphony cried out, "What did I tell you? What the fuck did I tell you? You put your hands on my cousin again, I'll cut the bacon off your back in front of your goddamn daddy. I swear before God and 4 more white people, I will bust your head to the white meat and kick your ass up and down the block till your ass is torn out the frame. And what are the rest of you bros looking at? Which one of you motherfuckers want to axe the dentist to get their teeth fixed? Don't let the smooth tweed fool you." 11. The motherfucker in the club ran past downtown with a busted hand. Once, a fear pierced him in that he mistook someone else for a person who was driven away. 12. The wind is howling. The motherfucker in the club is somewhere in a corner. 13. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? That's where we're going to end.
Well, no, I'd like to talk a little bit just about what we got coming up. And
almost, but that's where, yeah.
That was amazing. So I listened to that, and
because we're gonna have you on again. We're gonna go over a lot of the shit that we barely mentioned here and get more in depth.
Sounds good.
But I think that's a great way to close.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyway, say what
I'll say this. We got 3
I mean,
guys that have no problem with just switching gears and going on to the next thing.
Oh yeah.
So, in theory, it would be great to have one person. But you know what? I had a great time. This was fun. Things that I was really excited about, when you can move on to something else and just get as excited, means we had a lot of exciting shit to talk about, horrible things to talk about, but good storytelling, good stories. Heartbreaking, some of them, but I can't thank you enough for opening yourself up.
Glad to be here
tonight, man.
Yeah,
thanks
for coming, Rob.
And it's great for us. You know, we're trying to get into this.
What do you think of the place?
I appreciate this. Looks good. This looks like an intellectual's flat.
Yeah.
It looks all right. I can dig it. I dig the podcast, and I'm excited to hear it. And I'm excited to hear you interview more people. I'm on board, man.
Right on.
Well, that means a lot coming from you. I really appreciate it. I could be more pleased. Real quick, what do you have coming up? Where can I come and see you? I don't care about anybody else, but we should let them know as well.
Okay.
Where can we come and find you?
I am going to be reading in Seattle at a place called Margin Shift on April the 19th.
Margin Shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
have a website?
You know all those Seattle assholes we just talked about? They need to know what district. No, I'm just kidding. But do you know where what quote unquote? What they're doing?
I think it's at the Margin Shift Gallery.
April 19th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be reading the Seattle.
You know what time?
Probably 7 o'clock.
And this is on. Do you have a Facebook page or something?
Yeah, a Facebook page.
Okay. So Margin Shift.
And I'm also going to be reading. I'm also the headliner at the Langston's Weary Blues. It's a poetry prowl organized by Central Washington University in Ellensburg, though that is a long ass way away.
But Ellensburg, now's the time of the season to head over the mountains, check out the East Valley.
It's called Langston's Weary Blues. I'm the headliner. It's a tribute to Langston Hughes.
Wow, yeah.
What day is it?
April the 7th.
April 7th.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
What time is that? Do you know?
I go on at 7 o'clock.
Okay, and Yeah, that would be great to go to. Well, my whole day, and then getting to hear you do some things. Thank you very much, sir.
It was really great reading your poems because they because the sentences are understandable to a point when you first read them, and they become more understandable when you read them 3 or 4 times, nice and slow. And when you don't pause, but just sort of let it kind of happen, and the images that are evoked, even though you're talking about different shit, the images that are evoked keep you knowing that you're on the same playing field the whole book. You know, like it takes you from point A to point B in an inexplainable way until you read it, but you know that you're going to point B the whole time. You know, like it's really fun.
You're on a safe trajectory from one place to the other. And my favorite part, right along with what Bob's saying, is just the raw introduction into what is your life. I know your people. I know Hilltop. Dude, I don't know you saw me trying to drive around Bellingham to get to Bob's house, where I've been 150 times, and I still had to have him tell me every single place to get here. I'm familiar with Hilltop a little bit. Like, I feel like I know a piece of it. I feel like I know some of your teachers, Mo, Herman, your grandmother, Bob even. So thank you for that. I can't wait to do it again. Bob?
Yeah.
You agree? All right. Well, Mr. Lashley, thank you again so much. Can't wait.
Thank you very much.
And let's work on getting your ass up here in Bellingham and doing something. I'm sure, maybe with some of those other folks you talked about.
Yeah.
Is that something you could talk to them about? And maybe me and Bob could put something on somewhere, do something.
We'll do something.
We'll take all of Bob's paychecks and put something on. All right, and we're leaving with that. Goodbye.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thanks again for coming, Robert, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you for listening, and have yourselves a good day. Drive safely, and give somebody a kiss on the mouth.